Hey everybody, Patricia Young with Follow My Heels Home, brokered by Real Brokerage, covering the Dallas Fort Worth and Charlotte, North Carolina areas. Welcome to Let's Get Real, where I talk to entrepreneurs across the country just like you, finding out what makes you successful and keeps you at the top of your game. Today, I am super excited. I am being joined by Katie Lance. She is the co-founder and CEO of Katie Lance Consulting and the Get Social Smart Academy. So, Katie, thank you so much for joining me today. Let's see, are you there? There you are.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you so much for having me.
I love you. Like, are you there? Yes. Technology is great when it works.
Exactly. Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and to see you virtually.
I know. And it's like, and you guys, it's so great that Katie came on because she's so busy. And she is a speaker. She does so much with her social media academy. And she's also an author of the Get Social Smart book. This is an awesome book. I know, obviously, I have it. And I've taken a lot of her classes in her academy. So we'll get into that. But she definitely, when I think of like social media and Queen, honestly, really, Katie always comes to mind because I learned so much from her. So yeah. So I'm so excited to take the time to come on. So let's talk about you. So how did you tell us about you first off, where you are and how you got started?
Sure. So I am Katie Lance. As you mentioned, I am based in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I've been running our company side by side with my husband, Paul, for a number of years now. This year we're going on, 9 years, which is crazy. Time flies when you're having fun. And we're having a blast. Like, our sweet spot is really helping agents and brokers get smarter about social media. That was the inspiration for the book and for our academy. And so a lot of what we do is focused on helping agents and brokers develop a smart social media strategy that's going to, not take up all hours of the day. We don't believe that social media, you shouldn't be hanging out on Facebook all day long.
Right.
And
so, get stuff done.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of our focus. We do a ton of training, and especially these days, primarily all online and virtual. So we're grateful for that.
Yes.
And just staying busy. I'm a mom. I have 2 boys. I know we were just chatting about that before. They're basically as tall as I am. So we're doing a lot of stuff here. We're juggling.
I can't believe it's been 9 years, but I guess when you think back, I mean, it has been that long. And it is amazing to think about how much social media has changed. I mean, from way back then until everything that we have now.
Yes.
So what started, with this journey for you with the social media? What got you started?
It started quite a while ago. It actually kind of coincided with my start into real estate. So I started working for a local real estate brokerage here in the San Francisco Bay Area, probably, I want to say around 2005 or so. And, I really didn't know anything about real estate. My whole background was marketing, and I got hired by a local firm to basically run their marketing department. And I really, at the risk of sounding corny, really just kind of fell in love with the industry. And I really love the entrepreneurial spirit of a real estate agent, and, really got a bird's eye view on what it takes to do marketing from a brokerage level, and then also how hard individual agents work and helping them with their marketing. And that was really kind of the beginning of when social media started to, kind of be a thing for business. Back in the day, I'm sure you remember there was MySpace, holy cow, we've come a long way since then.
Long way.
Facebook, right. And then we saw blogging and all these things started to develop. And it was really kind of during that experience that social media started to really kind of become a thing for business. And I to this day remember having this eye-opening moment of, oh my gosh, like, these agents and brokers spend so much on newspaper ads and, bus bench ads. And of course, some of that stuff still works, don't get me wrong. But now we have this Facebook thing, this social media thing, like, what a great opportunity. And so it really kind of started from there. And then from there, I worked for Inman News for many years. I think that's when you and I first met.
Yep.
It was when I was with Inman. And then from there, I got the entrepreneurial bug myself and then decided to go out on my own. So it's interesting how it's really social media's matured over the years. It's not the newest, shiniest thing. And there's new platforms that are popping up all the time. But I think what really has stayed true is ultimately real estate's a relationship business, and
Yes.
that's where I think there's a big opportunity with social media to build and foster those relationships.
I remember one of the biggest things that you had said, and I think it was when we first met, it was an Inman Connect meet that was here in the Dallas area. It was the first time we had met face to face. And you were talking about the biggest thing was consistency.
Yes.
And again, it doesn't matter if it was 9 years ago or it's right now, but that is the one thing I have learned about social media. And like you said, there's so many platforms. It's like to pick the one or two that you could be totally consistent with and that you can build your business in. And it's very important to have your brand built and then to stay consistent.
Absolutely.
Consistent to you, consistent to your brand, colors, logo, everything. So, I learned that from way back then. And even now, I was on a team for a long time. Now I've been on my own for 4 years. So I have the shoes but people really, it really does resonate with people. That's how people, recognize you and know who you are, it's amazing how that works.
Yeah, I think a lot of people get kind of, hung up on what their brand is all about. They think it's like just the colors on your website or
Right.
Like a logo. And of course that's part of it. But, you're such a great example. Just with, how you carry yourself and your personality and the shoes and the colors and all of that. And I think one of the things that you've done really well is you just leaned into who you are, and there's a lot of self-confidence with that. And I think sometimes in real estate, I see agents trying to kind of be all things to all people.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens is they kind of just become a little vanilla,
Right.
Nobody wants to work with a generalist. If I need a brain surgeon, I want to hire the best brain surgeon.
Right.
I'm not going to hire the doctor that could do it all,
Exactly.
So yeah. And then to your point, consistency is huge. Consistency builds trust over time.
And I think that's it. And like you said, and I think with having that branding, over different platforms, people recognize you and stuff like that. So if somebody, especially now with how things have changed, just starting last year in March when COVID hit, everything went virtual. So a lot of agents had to learn how to change their business, how to do, how to use Zoom, how to go and do all the, talk to your buyers and sellers, via this way or do tours this way. So like now, and there are a lot of people, and sometimes we take things for granted. Right. Not a lot of people are on social media like we are or use it like we do. And I have to, because sometimes I teach some of that sometimes, and I'm like, you got to remember, you got to do it basic. What's some good advice, for people now, especially where, social media is very noisy, noisy. And it's finding that niche. So what's the best advice, for somebody to start and kind of, get their name out there?
Yeah, it is really noisy. I remember when you and I first met, like you said, probably 9 or so years ago. You could probably relate. I remember I used to be able to go on Facebook and I would totally recognize everybody. I'd be able to go through my feed. By the end of the day, I'm like, cool, I've seen everything. Now there's no end point. The feed just
doesn't stop.
It just doesn't stop. Right. And so I really think there's kind of two big things that are important. I think the first thing is it's still really important that you show up, social media is social. And the big mistake I see a lot of agents and brokers still making is a lot of people will say, well, gosh, I wish I could hire someone to do it for me. I wish I could automate it. I wish I could just hit a button and have everything post for me. And, there's certainly some services that work well. And I think smart automation, I think if you have an assistant who can help, I think that's fine. But you can't hand everything off because social media is social. Real estate's a relationship business. So you've got to set aside at least, set aside 10 or 15 minutes a day. I'm a big believer in time blocking where you set aside 10 or 15 minutes a day, be intentional, go open up Facebook, Instagram, wherever you're spending time. I like to do Focus 5 where I focus on connecting with at least 5 people a day on social media. I'll scroll through, I'll pick at least 5 people. Don't be a drive-by liker, but at least
drive-by liker like that.
Connect with people. And then the second thing would be content. One of the things I think you do really well is I've seen you, I think almost every day you're posting something, you're tagging different people, and you're not just randomly tagging people. I think one of the things you do really well, Patricia, is I see how you're really intentional with tagging people and bringing them into the conversation. And so whether you're sharing an inspirational quote like you do, or if you're creating video content like other people do, you're putting your voice out there, and that you're not sharing everyone else's content. You're putting your own kind of spin on it, right? Your own personality. And that builds trust. That's one of the ways where we attract business versus chasing leads. So those would be a few things I would say. Time block, set aside 10 or 15 minutes a day, start engaging with people, do the focus 5. And then the second thing is think about, is there some original content that speaks to you that you could start to put out there at least a couple times a week to start to build that kind of know, like, and trust factor online?
That's huge. Is that know, like, and trust? And I think content, like you said, and I think that's when I talk to people, that's where they get, they get stuck. I don't know what to say. And I always say, listen, there's always something going on. I mean, you can Google what's going on in your neighborhood and you could just find a business, and I'm like, right now with businesses hurting as much as they are, they're looking, I mean, if you go into a business and say, hey, I'd love to do a live here. I'd love to interview you, is there something we can give to them? Like a special, that way we know people are coming in. They will do that. I mean, there's content everywhere. And I think people have got to learn to stop being afraid of video. I think people are afraid. I don't like the way I look. I don't like this. I sound. I'm like, oh my God, get over it.
Right, exactly. That's how you look. That's how you
look. I mean, I don't always like the way I sound, but I got over that. But I think when it comes from that authenticity on top of everything is one of the most important things too. People want to see you mess up. They want to see you with no makeup. They want to see your hair on top of your head. I had a crap day today.
Right. We're not perfect.
We're not perfect. And I think that too is going to help people build that like and trust. And I think that's what people, at this point need to know. And that's what they're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I would say too is, if anyone who's listening to this ever gets stuck with content, one of the things I try to do, we all get emails, right? We get emails all day long. And a lot of our emails are people asking us questions, either their clients or prospects saying, what about this or what about that? And that can be really a piece of content. I mean, I did this recently where someone asked me a question. I took the time to answer, and then I used that topic as a post. All right. I went into our Get Social Smart Academy and I was like, hey guys, like, here's a question I get asked often and here's my response. And, obviously I'm being respectful of, I'm not going to, share any information that's proprietary or anything like that in terms of the client, but it's a way to say, instead of just this being a one-off email where I'm helping one person, well, now I could say, gosh, if you had a question about X, Y, and Z, this would be my answer, right? Yeah. So if someone's emailing you saying, well, gosh, is it safe to buy or sell right now with COVID, right? And you're responding, that's a piece of content, right? Like you could take that and put that on Facebook or any other platform. So just kind of looking at your life as content, I think is one thing to think about too.
That's a great idea. And if you guys are just tuning in, I'm talking to Katie Lance. She's the founder of Katie Lance Consulting and Social Smart Academy. And we're just talking about basically social media, how to interact, the like, the trust. And Amber Joy, who I love, I'm in her program. She's an influential agent. It's all about your spear, which is so, so very important. And basically, she said, it's so true. You can't hand off relationship building part. And Becky said, I need to get over how I look on video. Guilty.
A lot of us are. I still deal with that. And I do video all the time. But it's like, you know what? It is what it is.
I've gotten so past that now. And now I'll just like go live like when it was snowing. I mean, I had no makeup on. I mean, heck, I had my pajamas on. And I'm like, whatever. Hi, here it is. Let me turn this around. I mean, whatever. I think it's that. I don't know. And what I do is too with the social media, something, with that authenticity and being consistent was taking my clients, putting them on, social media. So this way you can keep track of them. Yeah. And I always believe you got to touch that spear constantly because those people are your biggest cheerleaders, right? Why not? And I've learned by doing that and always come, oh, I didn't know this, or, hey, I got a friend at work. So it's always having to stay on top of, in front of those people and stay on top of mind because listen, people have a lot going on right now. There's so much in the world. People have kids. I mean, it's crazy right now. You can't fault people if we don't do our job. And I think social media is the easiest way to do that.
Yeah. And I would also say too, that with social media, there's an opportunity to, connect with people. You may not be friends with all of your clients. That's fine. But, to connect with them and to see what they're posting, what's important to them and connecting with them. And then also when you are putting out valuable content, not just around listings, because I know that's a whole other conversation, but you start to put out content that's, somewhat timeless, somewhat evergreen, content like who pays for what, or how do I find a lender? When your past clients start seeing that, they may not always be engaging with it, but I can tell you they see it. And so I hear this all the time where, an agent's putting out video and then all of a sudden, like a past client they worked with 2 years ago puts a comment and they tag their friend and they're like, hey, Susie, this is that guy I was telling you about.
Yep.
Because you popped up on their feed again, and they see that you're continuing to provide value, and you're not always like, selling something. You're providing value, and you're serving people. So it's such a great thing. And honestly, what happens is when you do all that, I'm sure you've seen this, Patricia, people start to message you and DM you, and they feel like they know you because they've seen you, And
that's
now
a good
it's up to
thing.
you to say, well, let me make sure I'm a good fit for you,
Exactly.
So it's awesome.
Well, and it's funny too, because I've learned, like, I call it people farming, when I'm on, and and if I do from my clients, past clients, I had one that I always post my inspirational posts. This girl, friend or sent me a message, and it wasn't friends. It was on the other, messenger. So I clicked, and the first thing I did was I clicked to see who was mutual.
Yeah.
So I looked, and I'm like, it's a past client. It's the only mutual friend. So I friended her, reached out and said, hey, I got your message. You're so welcome. I saw your friends, with this person. How do you know them?
Yep.
And nothing about, like you said, nothing about selling. And she said, oh, we've known her forever. We're in a mommy me group. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And I said, well, if you have any questions or anything I can help you with, if you need vendors or, let me know. And I left it at that. The next day she reached out. She's like, you know what? I wanted to let you know. She goes, I got busy yesterday. I'm sorry. She goes, I have been following you through this other person's page for the last 6 months. I feel like I can trust you. You know what you're doing. I would love for you to sell my house. It was a sell and a buy that was over like a $1.2 million. Wow. I didn't know this person from Adam, and and that's the whole, and now we have a relationship with referred me people. So that's the thing, is that I'd rather do that than, like people farm and work with the people that I know or get referred from past clients or just other agents versus spending the money on the leads, which I've been doing right now. We've talked about this. I think I'm going to stop it because I think I'd rather spend the money, a little bit of money on my store. I don't like spending a lot of money. Who does?
Yeah.
And the market has changed a lot.
Yes.
Higher leads really aren't good right now anyway, but that's okay.
Right.
But I think that spirit and putting something out there and coming from contribution, people see that.
Absolutely. And we see a lot of people shifting their dollars a little bit, right? So instead of maybe spending a lot of money on, I don't know, say advertising, maybe shifting that towards like a great video editor, who's going to help you, instead of you spending 2 hours editing something, you get on camera, you create the content, and then you take that few $100s that you might have spent, on an ad and say, hey, make these look great, and take this video and make it square for Instagram and vertical for, my Instagram stories and horizontal for YouTube. And now you're working smarter, not just harder, right?
You can repurpose everything. Yes,
exactly. So just kind of thinking about where your money is being spent, and that's where I think there's an opportunity to, at some point as you grow, to maybe have an assistant or someone who works with you on pieces of this, as long as you don't let go of the fact that social media is social. You got to show up that personal piece of it.
Well, and I agree with that. I think too, it's, it has to be you, because when you put it to somebody else, they're going to see that. Cause I can tell, like, if I look at somebody's thing, I can totally tell it's,
I can always tell.
I can always tell. Right. And I'm like, yeah, not so much, and I know it's, but here's the thing I always say, I'm like, listen, this can be free. Yeah. So if you're going to spend the time and time block it, but use it. But like you said, don't be the flyby, just like, you have to engage. Yes. I think people forget that,
and especially nowadays, like, so a big thing with, obviously all the platforms, there's this algorithm, right? Whether it's Facebook, Instagram, wherever. And one of the ways to get your content seen is you have to have content that is sparking a conversation, right? So that's why video content's so powerful, Facebook Live, like we're doing now. But like, one little tip that I would give anybody listening is, and you do this really well, because I see you do this all the time, Patricia, is when people comment on your posts, if possible, comment back. Like, don't just like it, but if possible, comment back, and maybe even ask a question or use their name, like, because then they get a notification, then they're going to come back to the post, most likely. And what happens is you're extending the life of that content, right? I see it all the time. So anyone who's struggling a little bit with Instagram, Facebook, wherever, the magic is really in the comments, right? It's interacting with people. Go back to a post from 3 days ago. That's the other thing. People think, well, I posted that, a month ago, and I can't repost it. This is one of the things I've been talking a lot about lately. If something spoke to you a month or two ago or a year or two ago, and it's still relevant, why not reshare it? People miss stuff all the time. We don't see everything, and you know?
I do that on Instagram a lot. I've done that,
Yes.
like some of my little postcards, like a
Yeah.
couple of videos I had made, like I do that a lot. And
Yeah.
now, now I have the YouTube thing to Gina, the YouTube channel, up and going because you need a place to house your videos. And I know that, but like you said, I love how you said 2 hours to edit a video. Are you kidding me? That would take me 2 days. Okay. So let's stay in our wheelhouse.
Exactly.
Not one.
Let's stay in our lane.
Let's stay in our lane. That is not my lane. I'm like, no. I mean, I get frustrated just hooking up. Yeah, I know what I'm good at and what I am not, and I know my because I just get frustrated. And it's having those people that can help you put that that your dream and your idea alive. Because when I first started this Follow My Heels Home, it was like it's been hard. Then I switched companies with. I never thought I was going to do that. That happened in August. So it was a rechange and fixing everything and rebranding, but it's been the best thing. But it's amazing how when people start seeing you, just like you, when I think Social Smart or Academy, I always think of Katie. I mean, I just do because those are the words that reflect, but that's why the words that you use and how you present, it's all important. It's a whole package.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just, I've heard people say this. It's like when you get tired of seeing it, or you think, gosh, I've said this so many times, you're barely scratching the surface.
Right.
I mean, there's that sort of old advertising or marketing adage that people have to see things multiple times for them to take action. And I think it's even more important today because there is so much noise, so if you're the one who is consistently showing up and and delivering and being there and being consistent, it absolutely makes a big difference.
It does. So with all the platforms, like let's say like for me, Facebook will always be my number one. I mean, I've always been a big Facebook person. And then my second one is Instagram. I am in love with Instagram because I love pretty. I love pictures. I love to scroll. I mean, I'll go on Facebook, I'll do my engagement and my comments and everything, but then like at night, well, then there's Clubhouse. That's a new obsession. But but it's really funny because when you go through, and I mean, I've learned like through Clubhouse, people will be like, well, I'll go on. So I've gone on to people that are in Dallas, Fort Worth area and in Charlotte and said, hey, I love this picture. I love this. And I've got a couple people that I'm like, hey, I do a show. I would love to interview you, or I love your pictures. Can I repost? And they're like, oh, yes, please. So it's gotten me more followers, and it's an organic way of doing it. It's slow. But to me, I don't know, slow and steady, because I've been doing it for so long. So I see the result of what it can turn into. But you can't be impatient, right? I mean,
right. Everything. And when one of the reasons why that probably works for you too is you make that comment, you reach out to people, and I know if it was me, my first reaction would be like, well, who is this, right? So I go to your page, and you're not necessarily a new account, like you're established, right? You can see who you are, you can see what what your brand is all about. So absolutely, for anybody who's kind of at that middle layer of like, all right, I'm already on Instagram or social media. I agree. Instagram, I don't know. I just think there's so many opportunities to connect with others locally to you.
Yes.
Especially with Instagram search functionality, I think is only getting better and better. And I totally agree with you. Like, be proactive, liking, commenting, and interacting with where people are hanging out, in your local communities. It's not just like anything else, it's not just about posting. So.
Right. Well, and Katie will teach us in our academy, but like if someone says, like, you'll hear sometimes, well, kids aren't on Facebook anymore or adults aren't on Instagram. So if someone were going to set like a plan, I mean, I don't know, is there an age thing? Like where would you start? Like if someone say, okay, I'm going to do 2 platforms or I'm going to do 3, I want to do more video, maybe I am 25 years old versus I'm 50. So I guess it depends on your audience, but like, where would you tell them to start?
It's like the $1 million question, right?
I know, right?
So I would actually take a step back and say, as much as I love social media, and me, Patricia, I love all the platforms. Social media is rented ground. Yep. We don't own it, right? So I actually like to think and start with, is there content that you could create? Are there assets that you can create that no matter what, go with you wherever you go, right? So that would be things like video content, podcast content, blog content. And I kind of like to start there because, if Facebook went away tomorrow or Clubhouse or Instagram or whatever, it's like, I've got this library. Like if I were to go to my Dropbox right now, I've got, I don't know, 5-10 years of content that could easily get repurposed anywhere. Right. Yep. So I kind of like to start there with what's that, we call it pillar content, right? What's your pillar content going to be? It's typically content that's somewhat evergreen, somewhat timeless, right? Things like who pays for what and how to find a lender and should I run or buy, or like just all these, kind of standard questions we get asked all the time. Because then that content, if you do a video once a week, if you do a podcast, like this Facebook Live can get downloaded, put on YouTube. It could get transcribed, turned into a blog post. You could take a snippet, put it on Instagram, right? Like you start with a big piece and then you can kind of parse it out from there. I would also say though, and I know it's not a very exciting topic, but you've got to build your email list as well, because your database, that definitely goes with you wherever you go.
That's everything.
I know so many of us are like tired of all the email we get. However, it's one thing for someone to like you on Facebook or follow you on, Clubhouse or whatever. It's a whole other thing for someone to opt into your email list and say, yes, send me more email. And it's a really powerful thing. So I actually think investing in those things. And then to your point, thinking about, well, okay, I'm doing these things. I'm building my list. I'm creating some pillar content. Now we got to think about platforms. Where is this content going to go? And this is down to, where do you want to be? Like, where do you enjoy hanging out? Try out some of the different platforms. Lurk, be a lurker on some of the different platforms. If you're not sure about TikTok, lurk, see if it's for you, And then where are your clients hanging out? And you might be surprised. This is where your email list can come in really handy, because you can send an email to your database saying, hey, look, we're working on serving our clients better through social media. Where are you spending time these days? Is it Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Clubhouse, none of the above? That's okay too. And get a sense of where people are hanging out. So those would be a couple of things that I'd recommend.
That is awesome. That was like the golden nugget right there. So it's the pillar, it's the content, like timeless content to have that video. Like you said, what if social media goes away? What if Facebook goes away? What if they start charging? We don't know. But I think that's why building your brand, having that content that you can repurpose and use again, that you don't really skip a beat. A little bit harder to reach out, but if you have those emails, those people's, and what's good about it is if that email list, like let's just say it goes away, Facebook goes away tomorrow, and they're used to seeing you all the time, and all of a sudden they don't, they probably start reaching out to you. And that's because it's always been there. You've been in front of their face. And I think that's why I say it all the time. You say it all the time. That consistency is so, so very important, between that and between, coming from contribution, having people feel like they can trust you. I mean, that is huge. So Amber said, amen. Email list, the most valuable thing you own as a business owner. Yep. Amber would know. That's what we're working on.
It's so true. What's funny about that is, we create a lot of content, as you know, and one of the things we've done for years is every Saturday we send out an email newsletter to our list. And, people go, oh gosh, how do you write it? Well, it's honestly, if anyone is on my email list, it's pretty basic. Like there's my logo. We write like 2 or 3 sentences, and then there's a lot of links to helpful resources. And most of those links are links to other content we've published over the last 2 weeks that you've probably missed, right? Like my YouTube video, my Instagram post, a reel I did 7 days ago. And by providing that, it's so funny. People will reach out and they're like, oh, I love that newsletter. I read it every Saturday. I've got my cup of coffee, and I'm like, it's just a newsletter, right? But it's consistent and people have come to expect it. And it's become kind of like this digest of like, well, I missed what you did over here on Instagram last week because I was so busy, but I look forward to that email, so it kind of comes full circle in a lot of ways.
And I think people do look for that. And, everybody asks me all the time, because like I said, I've been doing on Facebook for at least 10 years. And, I remember when I had signed up for your class, it was December and I had did it for a year, but and you guys, I learned so much. Majority of like the platforms and the starting out of how to be consistent and keep going with something, because I think a lot of times, like anything else, you have to, it's knowing the basics of how to run something. It's like, it's not coming on social media and throwing up. It's just not, and I see that sometimes. And I know some people are trying to get their face out there. I want to get known. This has taken so long,
it takes time to get known.
And I always say, well, now I know, like I'll sometimes have people post on, hey, I was in the store and I saw these shoes. And they'll post them on my page. And I even have guys do that, which is really kind of weird. But, I'm like, wow, people like actually see. And like you said, they may not comment. People may not comment, but they're watching your stuff. And when they need you, by you giving that value, then they know that you're there and they can trust you. That's everything. That's huge.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think for you too, the fact that it's not just all about business, right? When we can kind of layer in something fun. I mean, frequently will talk about wine. And so I get the same thing.
Yeah.
People send me, look, Katie, I was thinking of you, the glass of wine, or I love Hello Kitty. I've probably got one behind me somewhere. And the same thing, I think you've sent me Hello Kitty stuff over the years. People go, oh, that's silly. But it also just shows like you're human, right? Like we're all human. And it's that, we said know, like, and trust, but it's also know, like, and trust and relatability, and when people relate to you, that's where it's not just business one time. It's like you're their lifetime person that they're going to go to, and they're going to tell all their friends,
Yeah. If you just tuned in, I'm talking to Katie Lance. She's the founder of the Katie Lance Consulting and Get Social Smart Academy. She's written a book, and she has so much information. We're going to put it up on like her website, her YouTube. She does videos all the time about all kinds of social media topics. So that's what we're talking about today: the importance of social media, the importance of of just being consistent and being authentic and being who you are. So one question I get a lot is like community groups. I mean, how important are community groups in terms of, well, I guess it depends on what you want, I guess, right?
I think that's actually one of the best parts about Facebook right now, and I'm assuming when you mean community groups,
yes,
Facebook groups. Because there is so much noise, right? But then there's your personal profile, there's business pages, there's Facebook ads. But I think with groups, the thing is with a community group, it takes time. Like it definitely takes time to build a community group. But when done right, it can definitely be a great source of business. And what's different, between a group and a page, obviously, is a page, it's just you, right? It's just you pushing out information. It's your listings, it's your content, and that's fine, right? There's a purpose to the business page. It gives that credibility when someone Googles you and sees who you are and what you do. But a group, especially a community group, if you can really narrow into a specific neighborhood or a specific community, like the more specific, the better. And we actually interviewed someone recently. I don't know if you're connected with Lee Arnold. He's a good friend of mine. He's down in Southern California. He's been in our academy for a long time. And I interviewed him because he runs this great Facebook group. He's got a Facebook group in Southern California. It has about 750 people who are in the community. And he was telling me, especially with COVID, how it's been such a big impact on his business because it's not just him. He's got other folks in the community. He's invited other business people into the community, and it's become this really great resource. And now, in that specific neighborhood that he's trying to farm, he's getting like 25 to 30% market share. Wow. And a big part of that is because he's helped to build this community, and it's not just all him, right? Like he's been able to really kind of highlight local businesses and really connect with folks in the community. And it's just been really awesome to see. He invited me into his group, so I get a little bird's eye peek into into what he's doing. But it kind of it comes back to this place of being in it for the long haul. When you can be a person of service, it's not all about you. Right. It can be really powerful. And if you don't have the bandwidth to start your own group, at a minimum, participate in local groups. Every community probably has. I know I'm a part of a bunch of local Facebook groups, and look for those conversations where it makes sense to add your 2 cents. If people are asking about remodeling or they're asking about landscaping, looking for a contractor, you don't have to be like, "Hi, I'm a realtor. Call me today." But you can just be like, "Hey, I've got some great resources for you." Whatever, and that can be really helpful too.
I agree with that because I live in a master plan community, and there's not only for the whole community, but there's also for our subdivision. And I was like, I'm not going to start a group. Why would I start a group? There's already a group. Like I contribute. I've done 2 food drives. I'm about to start a 3rd one. For North Texas Food Bank. So I always put that stuff in. I put in videos, I had them drop it off at my house, and it was funny because I did it in November and I did it in December, and I had people Instacarting me. So I forgot to tell my husband the day before I came back from Atlanta that I was starting it. He's like, I've had Amazon delivery. And I go, oh God, I forgot to tell you. He goes, yeah. And it was so awesome. Like, Instacart. And I said, if you want to pick up, no, because of COVID. And somebody, you're very respectful to people. So I was like, do whatever you want to do, but then when we delivered so much food. I mean, I did the video. I said, thank you. I said, this is something I'm going to do all year round. Because the food bank, a lot of people don't know. You hear about food banks at holiday time. But now with COVID and now with the storms and everything that we've had here, I mean, we have people that are hurting. We're out of, water, everything else. So, and I found by doing that, people will reach out. and ask. Or if somebody needs, I need a plumber. We've seen plumbers constantly. I've like DM people, here you go. If you need any other vendors, let me know. You know, I didn't like you. I'm not a realtor. I'm not, it's not a realtor hat. It's how can I help you? I live in this community.
Yeah.
You know, what do you need? So that's really important. And to keep up with it. I see people start pages and they don't keep up with them.
Right.
That's another thing. And that's when was the last post? 7 months ago. Okay, well, that's not active.
Right. And I mean, that's a great reminder to anyone who's watching it. You know, look at some of your pages that are out there. And, you know, like Twitter is a great example. A lot of agents started a Twitter account a long time ago. Some people keep up with them. A lot of people don't. If you have something that's out there that you're not active on at all, it's okay to deactivate it or make it private. And, you know, at some point, maybe you'll reactivate it. But like to your point, Patricia, if you've got something out there and the last time you posted was 7 months ago, it's almost like the lights are on, but nobody's home, you know? So
yeah, what's the point?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I agree. If you're going to do it, you got to stay consistent. But I always say, you know, pick 1 or 2 platforms, something you can stay active on and just be you know?
Yeah.
So, well, let's talk about your academy. You had this academy. Like I said, I was part of it for a year and it was, again, phenomenal because it had lessons. And like I said, when you're in the academy, you have to do, you know, Katie does the stuff, but you still have to do the work. But we can lead you to water. We can't force you to drink. So, but like having a little, even now, like she'll, you know, you still do like some of the contests with like Instagram, you know, I'll still participate in that because it jump starts. So yeah, tell me about the academy. Let us all know that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we started the academy many years ago, and part of it was because we really felt like for an agent or broker to really get their arms around a strategy, you need more than just like a 2-minute video or like a quick little blog post. Like there's all these posts, you know, 3 tips for this and 5 ways, and that's a great place to start. But just like anything, like when you get to the point in life where you're like, I need to figure this out, you know, that's kind of what the academy is. And so it's a membership site for anyone who's interested. They can go to katielance.com/academy, katielance.com/academy, and you can sign up monthly or yearly. There's no contracts. You can cancel anytime. But basically, when you sign up, it's a lot like Netflix. So you sign up, you send you your username and password. You can log in. And once you log in, you have access to all of our training and calendars and downloads and templates and videos. I do all the training. And then we also do live training. So, you know, like to your point, we do things like this where I do Facebook Live training once a week. And we have a lot of, you know, challenges. We have a March challenge coming up in like just a few days where we're doing a 30-day challenge. So, yeah, I mean, for anyone who's listening who's like, okay, I really need to get my arms around all of this stuff, I would love for you to check it out. So.
And like I said, I did it for a year, and truly it really jump started and helped me, you know, learn about the consistencies and learn about the pillars, because like I said, there's a strategy to everything. And if you're going to do it, especially, I mean, it's such a big thing. And like we said, it's so noisy that if you're going to do it, you have to do it like in your time frame, but you do have to have an idea of what you're doing, you know, because I mean, with that structure, it helps, and it would probably help a little bit faster versus just trying to throw a bunch of stuff. Cause all you're going to do is get frustrated.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I see it all the time. People, it's just, it's very overwhelming. There's all these different options, all these different platforms. Everybody's telling you something. You know, you go to Google and you Google like social media for real estate. I did this recently. It was like 1 billion. It's like over 1 billion. And you start clicking through, and some of it's great, but some of it's outdated, and some of it has nothing to do with real estate. And so, you know, we just decided many moons ago, I was like, look, I'm all in real estate. And with the academy, like you probably remember this, we don't necessarily teach everything. I try to kind of be that filter of like, look, this is the most important, you know, things that are going to help you in your business. Because again, it goes back to what I said at the very beginning of your show. I don't think as a realtor, you should be on Facebook all day long or any social media platform. So it's just about getting the strategy together, like you said.
And I think that's really important. And like I said, I mean, people are like, oh, I can do it on my own, but that to have that strategy and follow a plan, because like Katie said, there are so many things. I know when I put on, coming from a marketing background, like if something pops up, like I'll click on it. Oh my God. And then you want to talk about email and text message. I'm like, okay, but I still want to see, but there is so much that it is overwhelming. And I think sometimes you get that analysis paralysis.
Yes.
Then you have so much and you're like, never mind. You know, because I know sometimes I get like, I'm like, oh no, I got to shut down. I got to shut off. But that's why the consistency of me for Facebook and Instagram was the way that I could handle, I could manage, I could stay consistent. And that's how I run my business. So they were the easiest platforms. I look a little bit on TikTok. that's kind of all over the place for me. I do like videos. I'm just like, I put my cat up there and I get a lot of people follow my cat.
Right.
Great.
Right.
Okay. First, you know, and it was funny with Instagram. I've got a cat page and I actually get referrals, or I send, people will reach out. I know you're in real estate. I know this is a fun page, but can I ask you a question?
Oh, that's funny.
So that's why. So my cats get me business. So,
I would say the same thing, because when we got a cat a year ago, everyone told me I should start a cat Instagram. I have not. I probably should start a cat Instagram.
You got to do it. They love it. I mean, I put it on, and I flew to California to get her, so it became a story in itself. And she already had this little kitten already had a following. Like, this girl would put a video up and she would get 8,000 views.
Oh my gosh.
So I did the whole thing about flying out there, the whole getting her. And then, you know, I have Maria Coco Chanel. So it's Adventures of My Coco, and her sidekick Fern. And it is like freaking taken off. I mean, it's insane. People love animals and children. Yes. So, and I don't have those. So I have fur ones. So, you know, but it shows your personality. And then what I do is I started doing my hashtags. And at the end of my kitty hashtags, I put my real estate hashtags in my shoe. So, and that's a know.
So it ties it together.
It ties it together. So, and once in a while, I'll be like, Fern will be like, my mommy, you know, is out doing an open house today. You know, I'll do something like that, you know. So it's ways of tying it. But I learned all this kind of stuff through taking, you know, Katie's Academy, because like I said, it's some stuff you don't think about, but it's little stuff, and it's stuff that shows your personality. And, you know, and it's not about what I do all the time, because who wants to hear about real estate all the time? I don't, and I do it.
Right, exactly.
Let's do something fun.
Yes, exactly. And that's the, like, to your point of, I think, why TikTok has taken off. And you know, some people might be active there, some people, you know, may not. I think the lesson from TikTok is that it's okay to have fun with your content, you know, and of course you still want to be true to who you are. And of course you still want to be a professional, but again, it goes back to just, you know, sometimes it's fun to have a little bit of creativity, you know, and to show your human side. And I have to say, that's been one of the ways I've really loved with Instagram. I've been creating a lot of content for Reels, which is very similar to TikTok. It's this sort of quick, fun. You can add music, and because Reels is new, it's getting a ton of engagement, and it's kind of the shiny object over there on Instagram right now. But it's just a great reminder, like, you know, have fun, be playful, be creative, right? We don't want to take ourselves too seriously, you know, and have fun with it.
It's just content, you know, it's just looking for some content. Like you said, check Google, you check your email, check everything, and then just be consistent, come from contribution, and be yourself. I mean, that is the biggest thing that will at least help you start. And like I said, if you have questions, we're going to put Katie's, I know Gina's been flashing it, but we'll put Katie's website up. But definitely, you know, have a conversation and look, and just go onto her YouTube too, which is amazing, because you give good content. You know, she always does her little episode. What episode are you on now?
I'm like 200 something. I mean,
I love it. She's like episode 200. I love it. It's got the clicking sound. It just things that you just learn because you hear it all the time. So
we've been doing it a while, for sure. Yes,
exactly. And her website's up on, y'all can see it. But yeah, any questions? Like I said, when I think of social media, honest to God, and like I said, I was a true, you know, I can contest because I was in the academy. So it's definitely, you will definitely learn something. And like I said, it really helps me get to where I am right now and help me do it the right way. So, which is, you know, if you're going to do it the right way. And even if you need to rebrand or want to start over, you can start over. Yeah. So
absolutely. It's never too late.
Any last words or,
the last thing I would say is that I'm sure somebody needs to hear this out there. And you mentioned this earlier about, you know, not suffering from analysis paralysis. And I would add on to that to say, done is better than perfect. Done is better than perfect. You know, don't wait. If you want to start doing, you know, stuff on Instagram, or you want to start doing video, like the idea, we think, well, I got to get everything ready. I got to get my whole plan together. Yes, it's definitely important to have a plan, but don't wait 6 months to get a plan together when you could start right now, because that's part of it. Like, just learning it and getting through, you know, the how do I look and all that stuff. Like, just start right now.
Just do it.
Just do it. Nike was right. Just do it.
Well, Katie, thank you so much for joining me today. This was great information. We had a bunch of people watching, and thank you for everybody who tuned in. And like I said, you have any questions, we put Katie's website up. We'll put the link. So please click through, go onto her website. It'll take her to her YouTube, the Academy, and you can check out all the great information for yourself.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Patricia.
Thank you. And thank you all for tuning in. And until next month, let's get real. Thank you so much. I'm Patricia Young with Follow My Heels Home. I look forward to seeing y'all next time.
Bye.